spending bill. And of course, many progressives have been saying it's a question of when, not if. Senator Bernie Sanders called out Joe Biden and said, look, it is time to go bold and big for the American people. And the two have been seeing eye to eye on many economic issues, or at least closer than you might remember during their campaign. And that brings us to a very special guest who many politicos will remember. Faiz Shakir is founder of a progressive group, More Perfect Union. He also had the #1 spot for the campaign, who was the runner-up 2 cycles. He had the #1 spot in 2020, Bernie Sanders, of course, running for president, and is known as a longtime progressive advocate.
Faiz Shakir is the campaign manager for Bernie Sanders.
Faiz Shakir, my friend, always great to talk to you.
Faiz Shakir.
Faiz Shakir. There's just too many guns on the streets of America right now. And enormous health care costs are eating up people's lives and forcing them into bankruptcy. We have to feel the pain of people who are being hurt by an economic and political system that works for the billionaire class.
Faiz, you are an important liberal. I guess that's well, I appreciate any good vibes. Look, it's funny you say that because we had a different guest say that. I guess when we love to pull tape because we think it's interesting, then everyone looks and goes, gosh, I used to look younger. Thanks for coming on the beat, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with this breaking news, which is very interesting given where you and Sanders and many progressives have been. We didn't know when we had you earlier, when we planned to have you, that this would be the news of the day. What do you take from this? And Joe Biden basically going out of his way to meet with them, but ultimately saying if they can't get close to the number that America needs, then enough.
Well, there's no doubt in his heart of hearts, President Biden would love to find 10 Senate Republicans. There just doesn't have to be 10 Senate Republicans who would make a deal with him. I mean, 538 has done this wonderful analysis of Senate Republicans with a positive Biden score. And guess who the number 10 Senate Republican is on the most favorable towards Joe Biden? It happens to be Mitch McConnell. You think Mitch McConnell's going to agree to a deal with Joe Biden that wants to go big or go bold? No, he's not. And so, unfortunately, he doesn't have a partner to work with. And I think that this is the most important thing to remember, Ari, here is time is the enemy of this agenda. Biden is offering a very popular agenda. It's one supported by the American public. But Mitch McConnell's no dummy. He did this to Barack Obama. He just wants to drag it out. He knows that by 2022, November 2022, if he can get to that point, then he's got a shot at the House moving to a Republican seats and basically stymieing a Biden agenda. So all he's trying to do is walk him slowly into more and more and more negotiations. And Biden has to cut it off at some point and say, we got to go big. We got to act here.
Yeah. That makes sense, and I think that follows what we've been hearing. I want to ask you about something where, in politics, obviously, there's so much focus on the clash and the disagreement. We've reported on, and you mentioned, I think, areas where there's more agreement between the current president, Biden, his former rivals, like Bernie Sanders, and a lot of other people around the country who may not even self-identify as, quote-unquote, Democrat or liberal or whatever. When you look at the idea that a lot of people watching this program right now are paying more taxes than billionaires. How can that be fair? How can that be right? Shout out to ProPublica that has this exhaustive report. We'll put this up here. You have Warren Buffett tax rate under a point. Jeff Bezos under 1%, same. Bloomberg, who talks a lot about certain issues, and people may think of him as helping donate to guns and other things, but 1%. Elon Musk, popular for many things with many people, certainly a visionary. But it looks like Elon Musk also a total deadbeat, Faiz. Is this fair? Is there wide agreement on doing something about it?
Well, obviously, it's morally outrageous. It obviously is one of the things that gave rise to what Bernie Sanders has been pushing for basically 4 years of his life, this wealth and income inequality that is obscene in America. And I think the most important thing to remember here is when you look at the low income, low taxes that they pay, what is joined with that is incredible amount of power, political power and economic power to run a system. So these billionaires are not merely just like paying low taxes. They have really written a tax code for their benefit. They have defanged an IRS from going after them because they got an army of accountants and lawyers to preserve that wealth. And in order to get that kind of wealth, to be a billionaire, you have to corner markets. You have to basically ensure that antitrust enforcers aren't going to come after you. You're going to find, like Amazon has done, like Facebook has done, ways to get not just a few $1 million, but literally to corner and monopolize markets so that you can accrue incredible wealth that most people cannot spend in a single lifetime or many lifetimes. And that is a government problem, right? That means we need a stronger IRS. We need to have a better tax code, and you got to have stronger antitrust enforcers. Thankfully, the good news is, and you mentioned that the kind of ideological similarities between Biden and Bernie, this is one of them, that they have different styles of approaches and the ways that they would go at it, maybe different targets, but they both want to make the corporations and wealthy pay their fair share, want tough enforcers on the beat, and generally want a stronger IRS to go after these billionaires who, quite frankly, are trying to engage in tax evasion, successfully doing so.
Yeah, and I think you made an important point that's worth everyone fixating on, which is when it's happening like this, it's about government. It's not about the markets. Right. The markets don't historically lead to this level of inequity if they are regulated. So it's not, that's what the market said. No, it's actually what government did in being basically shook down by some of these groups. Now, Faiz, you're familiar in music. A wonderful small businessman can make a few $1 million, tens of millions of dollars, do well for themselves. We're not talking about tens of millions of dollars. This is beyond that. This is billions of dollars. How did that happen? Yeah. Well, that was a government failure, right? That allowed you to corner markets and basically swamp out competitors and just accrue more and more wealth, and then hide that wealth, move that wealth so that it's tax incentivized, and you're accruing via the stock market gains over gains over gains that don't get taxed. I'm only interrupting with something that may interest you. I was going to mention in music, they have remixes. There are those who say it sometimes feels like maybe Biden is remixing some of Sanders. Take a look.
CEOs make millions and millions of dollars, but don't ask us to pay more in taxes.
But a multinational corporation that builds a factory abroad, brings it home and sells it, they pay nothing at all.
If elected president of the United States, we're going to do everything that we can to rebuild the trade union movement in this country.
I'm a union guy. I support unions. Unions built the middle class. It's about time they start to get a piece of the action.
Now, here at The Beat, I've been really curious to get you on the record about this. Now, during the campaign, we could never get candidate Senator Sanders on The Beat for whatever reason. You were very hard to get. I always like to be transparent with the viewers. We invited you many times. Very hard to get on The Beat for whatever your reasons are. Free country, but viewers should know. Senator Sanders still...
No personal slight.
Well, I'm just putting it out there, and Senator Sanders still has an open invite. But I was curious what you think about this development, and do you think, as someone who ran against Joe Biden, that economically he's been pretty progressive in the opening here?
Well, first, I wouldn't oversell it too much, right? Obviously, on Medicare for all, on canceling all student debt, on college for all, there are fundamental differences, marijuana legalization. There are still ideological differences between the two, so it's not as if they've evaporated. But fundamentally, I do think that Senator Sanders, with his 2 runs for president, has basically won a policy argument within the Democratic Party of the directional approach that we should go, fighting for the rejuvenation of a working class, that a democratic identity far more deeply associated with the fight for the working class. And it is one that I believe ideologically Biden agrees with. And I think what you do see differences in Joe Biden himself, places where he may not have been 20 years ago. You see him generally with Bernie Sanders believing that, yes, this is the path. Bernie's, I think he agrees with a lot of the fights for unionization, the fight to make the wealthy pay their fair share, even increasing community college access in America. There's a lot of approaches, and you're going to see it when reconciliation plays out over the next few weeks here, that they're going to be allies, not fundamentally agreeing on everything, but generally allies on making good for the hardworking people of America.
Really interesting when we wanted to get you on that. Will you come back?
Of course. I'm always here, Ari.
Great. Faiz Shakir on The Beat. Appreciate it, and really interesting policy priorities there to get into. I want to remind